This is Austin from Jam Wyatt Uni. This is the second section of the lecture we are having in economics. And we are looking at the economic problems, the problem that people encounter when they are trying to do business. I would say that the number one problem is the problem of what to produce, in which we said that we need to make sure that we produce things that are marketable, things that we can use little money to do, the money that we have. You cannot start producing something that you don't have enough money to produce. Things that could be marketed in the area that you are in. So those are the things we consider when we are choosing what to produce. Now the second problem is how to produce. How do we go about producing those things that we've chosen to produce? So this second problem of how to produce comes up when we must have chosen what we want to produce. If we choose to be producing Gary, how do we produce the Gary? Do we use advanced technology or do we use the local way of producing the Gary? So that's the question here. So how to produce, as soon as what to produce is established, another basic economic problem that will arise is how to produce the goods and services. So what are the factors that we consider in making the decision on how to produce? Number one is technique of production. We need to choose between using a mechanized way or using the local way, depending on how much we have. The second question is technological advancement. We need to know the latest technology in the production, because when we are using a mechanized way, it makes the work more easier. So we need to check the technological advancement in the area of the production of what we've chosen, in order to make our production much more easier. Then lastly is the production function. In this case, we'll check out other things that are involved in the production and make sure that we use the means that is easier for us, that will make us to make more money when we start selling what we produce. So whenever we've established the system or the technology that we're going to use in the production, the last problem here is for whom to produce. Who do we produce for? Very, very important. Like I said before we started this class, that if you come to a community where people are using more bicycle, like the local community in the villages where people cannot afford cars, and you're producing for people that drive car, you're producing cars for people that drive car, then you're not going to be able to sell, because people there will not be able to afford it. So who do you produce for? You produce for people that can afford such goods and people that are using such goods. All goods and services produced must get to the final consumers. Production is not complete until the goods and services get to the final consumers. In that case, we mean that whenever you're trying to produce things, you must have this in mind that the final consumers, the people that will buy it, are very, very important, because they are going to determine how much market you have for the goods that you produce. So what are the factors that affect this problem of for whom to produce? Number one is satisfaction of want. So you need to produce goods and services that satisfy a particular want for some people, that solves a problem for them. Level of income, like I said before, very, very important. You cannot be producing Rolls Royce for people that can only afford Toyota cars. You need to produce things that they can afford. You cannot be pushing in for Italian shoes when people can only afford locally made, urban made shoes. So you need to produce in relation to their income, relative to their income. Very, very important. Type of economic system is also very important. If you're running a mixed economy or any type of economy, has to determine what you produce. If you're running a capitalist economic system that allows you to compete and do all sorts of things, so you can produce any kind of good and push for the market. But if you're running a communist or socialist system of economy, the government determines what or for whom you produce at a particular time. Economic systems. There are various types of economic systems, and they include mixed economy. Mixed economy is a type of economic system in which both the private and public ownership of means of production and distribution exists together in a country. Basically, Nigeria could be classified as a mixed economy because government still own some corporations in as much as we are trying to privatize. So in any economy where government owns some means of production or corporation, means of discharging services, together with private, like companies like MTN and Glo. So in such a situation, we are having a mixed economy. Then the second sort of economic system is the capitalism or free market economy, which is defined as the type of economic system in which the means of production are owned and controlled by private individuals. In this sort of economy, most of the means of production or corporations are owned by private individuals. This is the kind of economy that is run in America and Japan, South Korea, some developed countries, where private individuals actually own most of the means of production. If you go to the United States, you see there are companies that produce cars like GM. Most of them are owned by private companies. The Apple, Facebook, they are all owned by private companies. Then the third system of economy is the socialism or centrally planned economic system, which is defined as the type of economic system in which the means of production and distribution are collectively owned and controlled by the state. What we mean by the state here is the government. So here most of the means of productions are controlled by the state. This kind of economy is practiced in Cuba and some other countries. From experience, this kind of economy does not develop so much because history shows that it encourages redundancy, laziness, and stuff. Capitalism is a free market economy, so it allows for people to come in with their own stuffs and compete. And once there is competition, there is growth. But in a socialism or centrally planned economy where there is no competition, where the state government determines what goes on, there is no much competition and development is not as fast as needed. Features of economic systems. You find out that capitalism has the following features. Number one is that it is private. There is private ownership of properties. There is existence of competition. Like I told you before, competition is very, very important to enable companies to grow. There is maximization of profit. Capitalists, they are always interested in maximizing their profit. There is also individual satisfaction because people tend to produce what they actually need. Then there is free market enterprise. Like I said before, in capitalism, the market is free. Everybody can bring in or produce what he wants. Then socialism, there is a joint decision making between the government and the private individuals. That is what we mean by joint decision making. There is state ownership of means of production in socialism. There is non-market economy. Here it's not actually meant for selling because the government determines what is produced and given to the people. There is non-profit motive. You don't make profit since you are not competing and you're not doing it for yourself. It's the government, so there is no profit. And there is promotion of welfare in this one, because whether you're working or not working, the government tries to make you happy. So there is promotion of welfare. Then the features of mixed economy is that there is joint participation. Both government and private individuals participate. They also come together in making decisions. There is freedom of choice. You can choose between things that you buy. There is also